Growing up in Lethbridge is boring. Like, there's not much going on, really, ever.
I was never excited to be in Lethbridge. I never wanted to stay here for any other reason than family and friends. 2 years is my thing. I'm dedicating 2 years here.
Who am I? Wow. I'm Taylor Murray. I'm a filmmaker, creative person, photographer, kind of everything from Lethbridge, Alberta. There's prairies, and you can kind of see the mountains on a clear day, and nobody does much, especially in terms of like creative stuff. There's really only a few people that really do it and do it well. Like, some people do painting and some people write, and for me, like, just making an image just kind of allows me to boil how I feel into that. I think it's kind of the same for everyone, where it's like you acquire a camera somehow and then you realize that you love it. And I think that's kind of a shared experience among photographers, where whether it's a gift or you find it in your grandparents' attic or something like that, like, everyone just really has that similar kind of origin story. I think the reason people are drawn to it is just because you're like taking a step back, and we live in a world where everyone is constantly plugged into phones and computers and social media and the news, and there's none of that with film. It's like there's no digital aspect to it. Some cameras are completely mechanical. My generation is unplugging more and more, and there's just like people that are just wanting to take a step back from how far into this digital age we are, and I think film is like the easiest way to do that. I think a lot of it came down to like wanting to find out if anyone else enjoyed doing this as well. And then I was curious, like, do they do it like here in Lethbridge? And I found a bunch of people, and I was able to reach out to them, and then we kind of started working together, and I saw they were like doing this for a living, and I got to like sit down with everyone in town and just kind of pick their brains about how to make a living doing it. There's like a saying, and it's like you get 10 no's for every yes. And so that was very true. But then I found a small handful of people who were just willing to share every tidbit of knowledge that they had. I got to come along on some shoots with them, learn, and then eventually one of them quit their job at a marketing agency, and I was able to kind of step in and take that spot. Just grinding and doing it every day was the biggest thing.
I showed him the studio, and I could tell he was a little bit intrigued, but I didn't realize he was so young. He was like 17 or something at the time, and that blew me away too, because I was like, man, when I was 17, I was out being an idiot and not focusing on anything that could like help me out later in life. I never saw anyone put so much time and dedication and passion into one cup of coffee. And then when I drank it, I was like, what the hell? Like, he's like, yeah, it tastes like grape juice, or it tastes like, Sour Patch Kids, or like whatever the weird tasting note, but I actually could like taste it. And needless to say, I don't go to Starbucks anymore or any places like that, but all these people come in and they fill your cup in a way that you never would have expected. At first, I wanted people to fill my cup in a way of like, oh, other creatives, and they're going to inspire me to do, my best work. But it never happened like that. It was a completely different type of inspiration. It was like all these different elements of their life and how they were brought up, and it's great. And he is such Taylor, if you leave, I'm going to disown you. So that's just how it is. I don't care if you taught us all how to make coffee. You can't leave. There's certain things that you should go to school for if you really want to be that one thing. I did a tour of the university a couple weeks ago, and I walked through the lab, and I just saw all these, Taylor's age, these students, and they're doing the kind of stuff where I'm just like, you look like you're going to save the world, and I'm just a photographer. And, that's always a good reminder. You see that, and you're like, this is the kind of stuff where you need school. You can't learn this anywhere else. But creativity cannot be taught. I don't believe it can be taught. It's something that kind of has to be unleashed. You can't tell people to do anything one way. It doesn't make sense.
The first day that I met Peter, he told me not to go to college. And he was like, don't tell your parents I'm telling you this. But you don't need college to become like a creative person. You can't learn creativity. I think it's something, everybody has it, and you need to kind of nurture that little seed of creativeness that you have. But yeah, you watch YouTube videos, you can learn the skills. Like if you want to become a doctor, you should probably go to school for that. You can Google anything. You can find any tutorial you want to find, and you can become like the best photographer around completely from YouTube.
At the start, I was like, why would you shoot film? Like you can't even review the photo after. I realized that the film stuff, like shooting on film cameras, it's the same as making that cup of coffee in the morning. It's not about like, oh, I shoot on film or the cool look, or it's about none of that. It's about the work that you had to put into it to get something beautiful. You know, you could take a hazelnut K-cup, throw it in your Keurig and have a cup of coffee. And if you've never had anything amazing, that K-cup's probably going to taste pretty good. Tassimo, everyone raves about Tassimo. Like, you know what I mean? Or Nespresso or whatever it is. And like, it's funny because you look at all those machines and Nespresso tastes pretty good if you've never had real coffee. And shooting on a film camera is taking that 10 minutes to make that cup of coffee in the morning. It's a meditation. It's like an art. You need to know what's going on. You can't just willy-nilly snap a bunch of photos, throw a preset on it. And I feel like that's how so many people live their lives nowadays. Everything is, what is the easiest way? What is the quickest way from point A to point B, and that I can make it look the coolest? It's interesting. I feel like, it took me years to get into film. It took me years to know what a good cup of coffee was. I feel like everybody's got their little thing, their little cup of coffee, their little roll of film. Everybody finds these little things that they love. And that's the cool thing about having this group of people around, is you get to learn everybody's little thing. And that opens up so many other ideas. I'm for sure staying here for 2 years. 2 years is my thing. I'm dedicating 2 years here because I can't build bits and pieces if I don't push here for a couple of years. And since I made that decision, I've filmed some of the coolest stuff I've filmed forever. And I've met some crazy, interesting people. All the same stuff that I was doing in Norway, the same feelings, the same thing. And it was all here the whole time. It's just a perception of reality. It's not just one person doing a cool thing. It's a group of different people all doing cool things. And that's what gives that perception of a mini Portland,
I don't know. There's something about the city that's just like, you can't really leave. And I used to say that as a bad thing, where it was like, I feel stuck in Lethbridge. But I think I'm realizing more and more that like the city's growing, I'm growing up, and I think it's the perfect spot to be in, where there's more and more creative stuff happening every day. People are doing cool things all the time. And I think if I leave, I'm just kind of running away from that. But I think one of the draws about being here is there's only a few of us, and it's kind of cool to be like pioneering that with the rest of the community.